FYI, Black lives still matter. We'll talk why hockey still needs to play catch up when it comes to systemic racism. We'll chat about paused hockey and not paused hockey. Plus, we chat with Mitch Helgerson, Minnesota Wild Senior VP of Marketing and Ticket Sales, about the new fan experience. Episode 37 starts now.
As always, Bardown Beauties is presented by SodaStick.com, where you can snag all the coolest gear for the Minnesota sports fan in your life. Hats, tees, and hoodies in original designs celebrating your favorite Minnesota sports moments. You'll find at SodaStick.com. Use code Bardown Beauties at checkout for free shipping. Be a beaut with SodaStick. Hello, everybody. We're back. Episode 37 of Bardown Beauties, presented by SodaStick.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll address the elephant in the room. NHL took 2 days off, a little late, as recognition of Black Lives Matter and systemic racism, and very player organized, very player driven, as we saw across most of the leagues. The NBA also canceling, postponing games. WNBA obviously been at the forefront of that as well. MLB and then NFL practice facilities as a result of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, being shot several times by a police officer in the back. So we're here again, Alexis. Sports were back and they're up and down, and I think it's the right thing, though. Again, we've talked about this at length before. Sports don't matter. People matter, and athletes have the right to have their opinions. And they're absolutely right, especially Black athletes and athletes of color. They deserve to be heard, and they deserve to be appreciated. And the Hockey Diversity Alliance and Matt Dumba of the Minnesota Wild, among many other players, Ryan Reeves, really kind of forced the NHL's hand and said, we're not resuming these playoffs right now. We need to take a moment to take a break and really focus on what matters, and that's civil rights and human rights.
Yeah, there's a couple things that unfolded this week that really stood out to me in ways that were different than when some of these kind of things have happened before and players have spoken out before. For one, and a lot of the players touched on this, like Matt Dumba said this, I watched a video, PK Subban mentioned this was player driven. These players are saying, we're not doing this. This isn't the league saying, okay, let's take a break. There's a lot of pressure. Like, let's take a break and reflect. It's the players saying, we're not going to play. You are going to figure out, what changes can be made. How can we be better? So that was one of the most important things I thought, is that the players were driving this. The other thing is that with everything that's been going on, we've had sports paused already. And these players are saying, I don't care. We're pausing them again. Figure it out. I don't care about the money. I don't care about, the fact that games aren't going to be played and fans won't get to watch them. They're saying, we need to do this now and we need to get something figured out. So that really stood out to me, that they were brave enough during a time where we've already gone without sports and teams and leagues are already struggling to figure out how to resume play and keep players safe. They're saying, I don't care. We're taking another pause right now. So those were the couple things that really stood out to me. And I don't know, it made me really proud to see these teams and these leagues come together and speak out. And I know that the NHL has gotten a lot of backlash now and in the past for being, late to the party, being the last ones to step up, to stand up, sometimes having hollow statements or movements or whatever you want to call it. And I thought this time they did a really good job. The Hockey Diversity Alliance led the way, and a lot of players followed suit. And I've seen a lot of statements of players saying, hey, we talked about this in the locker room and here's what we said, and backing each other up. And a lot of the players have been saying, we need the white players to step up. This can't be on the backs of the Hockey Diversity Alliance. It can't be on the backs of the likes of Matt Dumba and Ryan Reeves and Evander Kane. And as much as we appreciate those guys for doing what they're doing, they need the support of the white players. Otherwise, it doesn't matter, because
and that's what they've been telling us since this all happened, since the murder of George Floyd, right? I mean, every Black American and every Black around the world was like, we need the support of the whites. Yes. We've been doing all of this. We've been trying to tell you guys. We've been screaming, hey, look at us, pay attention to us, appreciate us. This cannot continue to happen. And so, now it's time for us white folks to step up and use our privilege for best, and use this time to educate ourselves and make sure we're doing everything we can to truly change society, because right now it's incredibly broken.
And I just want to say, and I know, Jesse, we have a lot of things we want to touch on the show today, so I'll make it quick, but I was thinking about this the other night. An analogy to this is, when you think about someone breaks their leg, right? When you break your leg, do you say, oh, you're on your own, good luck, wrap that cast up, good luck figuring out the rehab and getting that leg working again? No, they go to a doctor, and the doctor helps them, and their family helps them, and you have a therapist who helps them learn how to walk and use the leg again. You can't do everything on your own, because a person who's broken or a person who needs help or a person who's oppressed can't do everything by themselves, no matter how strong that person is. They need the support of the people who have power to make a difference. And that's where they talk about using your white privilege for good. Use your white privilege to do something to help the people who need the help, to help the community who needs the help, and just be better and do better and be aware of what you can do to make a difference. Because I don't care who you are, I don't care what you do, and it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, everyone can do something. So that's what I just want people to remember, is that you have the ability to do something. Figure out what that thing is and find a way to execute that thing, because everybody's help is going to create, I tweeted this other day, I said a strong person can do a lot, a strong community can do a whole lot more. So figure out a way to come together and find ways to truly make a difference. And don't just think that, oh, because I'm not a member of the Black community, or I've never been affected by something like that, that you can't make a difference, because you can. So I just think that's the biggest takeaway I took from this week, and as things have unfolded over the last few months, especially so close to home in Minneapolis, and then now Wisconsin, which obviously isn't far from us either. So there's a lot of things to reflect on, and we just want our listeners to remember that as well.
Well, and that's just it for those that get very irritated about, and I've seen it in my DMs, I've seen it on Twitter, you're very irritated that sports are now turning political, right? These are people with a platform. These athletes, you have called them role models, right? You look up to these guys. If they don't say anything, and if they don't show their support in some way, like, what good is that platform that they have then, right? Again, not only are players like Matt Dumba and Ryan Reeves or PK Subban, like the Black players in hockey, not only are they directly affected by this, and they're a minority, right? I mean, they're a minority around the nation, but they're a minority in the sport of hockey, of all things. But if you don't have guys like Blake Wheeler, I always go back to, because I think he's done a phenomenal job, or any of these white players, Tyler Sagan's another one who's really done a great job of standing up. If you don't have guys that have this following, that are looked up to as role models, doing the right thing and making those movements, like, again, what good is that platform? And that's where we want to touch on it too. We want to use our platform for good. We've stressed that before. We love talking hockey. We wish we could just talk hockey, but sometimes there are things that are bigger than hockey. Yeah. So I hope the NHL continues to make that fight for change and continues to be serious about it, because it's a sport that it's very difficult for anybody. It's a rich sport, right? It's a hard sport to play. There's so many different things. It's not just going and taking a ball out on a field or on a court. It's finding the ice and everything. So it's already a game that has a couple more barriers involved. But I think if they can start to break down those barriers and really truly support the Hockey Diversity Alliance, and not just in namesake, or not just in saying this or that, or once a month, right? I think it'll be great for the sport, and it'll be great for the world too, right? I mean, of course, we love this game. I freaking love this game, and I want more people to play it, and I want more people to appreciate it, and I want it to be welcome for everybody. And again, that's still not the case. So hopefully things get going. Games resumed on Saturday. You've got game 3s and game 4s. I've got to say, I'm a little bummed, because I picked a lot of series to be done in 4, and that will not be the case.
I was looking back on some of your picks, Jesse, and I was like, this woman is crazy. She's just picking like 5-game series. I'm like, girl, I think all of mine were either 7 or 6 games. I don't think I picked anything less than that. And so far, they've looked pretty evenly matched. I mean, every series has been pretty back and forth. There's been, look at like the Tampa Bay Boston series.
Right.
I mean, Tampa Bay put up 7 goals on them in game 2. It's like, I mean, the Vegas Vancouver series, if I would have been able to sit down and talk to you guys after game 1 of that Vegas Vancouver series, I would have said, no way in hell Vancouver wins a single game in that series.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that series looks closer.
Colorado, Dallas, like, okay, Dallas, like what in the hell is going on? Like, Colorado looked so amazing in the round before. And it's like, and Dallas has surprised a lot of people, myself included. I would say that one's kind of the most shocking. And then I love the Islanders. Like, truly, that was a tough one for me, because I know I had been outspoken about being a Gritty fan and the Flyers and yay them. So I felt like I had to pick them. But in my heart, I kind of like the Islanders. Again, you go back, you've got all the Minnesotans, which I'm always super biased on. And I think they've always just never gotten the credit that they're due. I think sometimes the Islanders just get overlooked often, and as of late especially, but they've got some really talented players. So I think that series has been really fun and truly could go either way. I'm not as high on Philly as maybe I had been before.
Well, the thing about the Islanders is, the reason that they don't stand out as a flashy team, despite the fact that they have a lot of very talented players. I mean, they have Matt Barzal, Anders Lee. I mean, you've got some of these guys who are really flashy, talented guys. but they play such a structured game. I mean, it's just, they don't need to try too hard to be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And everything is just very clinical. It's very like, they've got
very Barry Trotz.
It is very Trotz.
Right?
And so they don't stand out as, some of these teams who are a little bit more chaotic when they play, and which I think that's a good thing. Get the job done quietly, don't make it harder than it needs to be. But I agree. I think I picked, if I remember, I don't even remember some of my own picks. I think I picked Philly in 7 games in that one. And honestly, when I made the pick, I forgot that Philly was the number 1 seed.
Yeah. Well, right. They had I think that's what makes all of this so hard. And we have talked about it before. Like, the season seems like it was a lifetime ago. So when we're coming into this, I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I've laughed. There's so many times when this all started, like, I didn't even know he played for that team. Like, I forgot that the trade deadline happened. It's definitely very interesting. More interesting, since I mentioned Barry Trotz, we had talked about, he was a former Washington Capitals coach, obviously left there to come over to New York. But Todd Reardon out as the Washington Capitals coach. Who do you think they might be eyeing? Is Bruce Boudreau primed for a comeback? I know his name has been floated out there as a Maple Leafs assistant,
Toronto,
possibly.
Yep.
But God, that would be interesting. I know he has such a soft spot in his heart for Washington.
He does.
Like Anaheim,
he does.
I think he hates. Washington, he just loves. It's like the ex that he can't let go of.
Well, I think the thing is when you look at teams like that who really do have a lot of good pieces, and we talked about this in the last episode too, where their team is not that different from the team that won the Stanley Cup in 2018. They have one of the best players in the world ever to play, and they've got a lot of surrounding pieces to that as well that really make for a good team. So I think that makes the coach search a little bit easier because you've already got the team there who doesn't need, it's not like you've got a lot of young guys who need that structure. A lot of these guys know what they're doing. They just need that finishing touch to maybe push them the rest of the way. I do know that, like you said, Bruce loved his time with the Washington Capitals. He has a soft spot for a lot of the guys on that team.
He went out and golfed with Nicholas Backstrom when he was out there recently. So yeah.
So I don't know, but then you look at a team like Toronto, and I don't know if Bruce would be a good fit in Toronto. That's just my personal opinion with the way Bruce coaches and the way that team is. I think the Capitals would be a better fit. But I don't know. The thing, it's so hard to look at this because we have so many teams who still need coaches.
Normally, I feel like still out there, guys. Like,
lest we forget, the Vegas Golden Knights were in 2nd place when he got fired. I mean, pretty good coach there.
Babcock too. I know people have their feelings on him, given
old
the
school
news
guy.
that came out. Right. But yeah, I mean, you still have really solid options to coach.
I mean, normally we're looking at like 2 or 3 teams then in the season who need a coach. We're looking at like 8 teams that need a coach. So I'm like, I don't know. Let's do it like the draft lottery. Put their names in the little bubble thingy, have it pop up, and just pick a coach, match it with the team. That might be the best route at this point, honestly.
I would agree. I think I would love to see Bruce, even if it was an assistant. I know he probably is eyeing down a head job, right? And I think that
he deserves one too.
I think his pedigree has shown that he can be successful. He's a Toronto boy though. And I think that would be really cool to go home. He's so close with his mom. If you guys haven't read some of the fantastic articles Michael Russo has written over on The Athletic about Bruce, and his mom, it's a really cool, special thing. And, I think for him to be able to go home to Toronto would be pretty neat as well. But again, I'm sure he wouldn't turn down a cap job. I don't think anybody would turn that down. You look at that team, and yes, it's gotten older, but those guys still can play at such an elite level for their age. It's remarkable. And
I really do think that this offseason for them was an anomaly. I mean, they did not look like the Washington Capitals they normally are. And I don't know if I remember talking about this, during the break and as all this was happening, but some of these teams might come back not looking the way they look just because that break is going to do some teams a lot of good and it's going to do a lot of them a disservice. And I think the Capitals were one of those teams that the break did them a disservice and they just didn't look like themselves throughout, even in the round robin. I didn't think they looked that great. And obviously in round 1, they weren't able to make it out alive. So I think that anyone would be lucky to coach the Washington Capitals and the likes of Alex Ovechkin. And
Alexis and I are available. Again, we've mentioned this before.
1-0 record.
We have a 1-0 record. We are winning coaches. Let's just toss that out there. Keep that conversation going, guys. Let people know.
A lot of teams who need coaches. We're just saying.
And we're women. So let's, we can go that route. We can play that
card.
Filter
some women in, please. Come on.
And keeping on the coaching theme, the Minnesota Wild making some coaching additions, lest you forget, longtime goalie coach Bob Mason was let go at kind of at the end of the Wild season, now that once it officially wrapped up there. Frederick Shabbat named the goalie coach. He was down in Iowa. Brett McLean was added as an assistant, and Darby Hendrickson and Bob Woods had their contracts extended, as well as Jonas Plume, their video coach, will be extended through 2021-22. So coming together, I mean, you know, I know people sometimes get meh about changes, but it happened. So there you go. That's your news that's your Minnesota Wild news anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I was sad to see Bob Mason go because he's been with the team since the beginning. So that's always a tough one. And he is a nice guy too. But I'm not surprised by that. We know how Bill Guerin feels about the goalie situation, and it's not surprised he feels that same way about the management of the goalie situation. And I know that the guys in the AHL love those coaches down there. So I'm not surprised that they were pulled up to the Wild here, and I'm really excited to see what they're able to do, whether it's the pieces they have now that they're working with or some different ones in the near future. Either way, I think they're going to do a great job. And you know, who knows, that might speak to Billy Guerin's next moves for the goalie situation. Is Kakinen someone he's going to pull up then, because Kakinen knows these guys,
right?
So you think about something like that might be a little foreshadowing of what Billy Guerin's thinking. If not, either way, we know these guys are probably going to do a great job, and I'm excited to see what they do.
I mean, you have to give Capo a shot this year. I mean, they're without question. You need to see what's there, especially if you were unsure of who a number one was, and if you're not happy with your veteran goalies. You know, it's the way of the game, right? And it's kind of just part of it. And you're absolutely right. Capo and Shabbat will have that natural relationship of working together that'll help. And again, going back to it with Bob, it's just nice to get a fresh face in. Sometimes you just need that change, and it, you know, it's not a direct reflection. Again, Bob can only manage what he's given to work with, right? And you can say that about any coach. It's always a bummer that sometimes these things fall on a coach when it's the player's performance and you're trying to get the best out of them, but sometimes people aren't responding. So those are your coaching changes. The other thing I wanted to touch on too, is far as NHL news, trades during the playoffs. Like,
let's get it.
I kind of forgot that this is all like, sure, per the return to play agreement that the Players Association and the NHL came to, trades are allowed to start if you are no longer competing and your off season is happening, which makes sense. But obviously, again, not normal. It's not normal at all. So Pittsburgh gets stronger with the trade. Shocking. Amazing. But it's Kasperi from Toronto is in Pittsburgh now. A couple other guys too, including Pontus Aberg. Do you guys remember him?
I was literally just gonna be like,
the first round pick
throwback.
Yeah, right. So kind of different. I don't know. For people did ask me, they're like, so could a team feasibly make a trade if they're playing? I'm like, no, they cannot. Like you're not allowed to like make your squad better during the playoffs, but which would be insane. But I kind of would be here for it too. Like, let's just make this a real circus. Like, you
all know how I feel. Give me the chaos. Let's be trading during intermission. I want new players in game 3. Like, let's get some picks traded around. Yeah, I was at work and I'm like, you know, occasionally looking at my phone. All of a sudden I see like trade news coming through. I'm like, trade news? I'm like, oh yeah, trade news. Like, why not? Give me some trade news. Like, let's see what this deal looks like. And I know a lot of people were kind of upset about Pontus Aberg being traded with a whole first round pick thrown in there. But let's remember that Pontus Aberg was not the reason they got the first round pick. He was just kind of an add-on, you know? So I know a lot of people were like, the Wild could have got a first round pick for him. It's like, probably not.
I mean, there was a lot that went into that. Yeah, right. Like there was a lot that went into it.
It was like what, a 7-player/pick trade or something? I want to say it was
like 3 and 3, right? Plus a round. Yeah. Like, I mean, it wasn't anything.
So settle down, Wild fans. It's okay. I don't think the Wild were going to get a first round pick for him.
No, it wasn't a 1-for-1, like a straight up, like, we'll give you our first round for Pontus Aberg. Like,
this isn't like a New Jersey Devils and Edmonton Oilers 1-for-1. Don't worry. It's okay.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, so that happened. That's kind of all we got for your NHL hockey news. You know, thank you to everybody that took part in our our chirps, some of our favorite chirps. That was kind of fun. I want to give a shout out to Caitlin Gamble. Some of you may know her. She has been helping us with our social media account. She was formerly with the Minnesota Wild, currently with the LA Kings. But she's been doing a killer job. So be sure you're following us on all social media channels for some new stuff that we've got going on. Some new graphics, a little bit of fun here and there.
And some weight off Jesse's shoulders and my shoulders as far as posting goes. I mean, it's she's a godsend. She's very good at what she does, and we're lucky to have her.
Yeah, exactly. So give us a follow on all of those. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Mitch Helgerson of the Minnesota Wild joins us. Stay tuned.
In addition to our presence in the Soda Stick store, we've got even more Beauties merch available in our Bardown Beauties Teespring collection. Wear a custom-designed 5-hole Bardown tank while feeding your babe in an official Beauties onesie and sipping from your Bardown Beauties coffee mug. We've got it all. Go check it out and support the Beauties.
Joining us now, Senior VP of Marketing and Ticket Sales with the Minnesota Wild, who played a large role in bringing the Winter Classic to the state of hockey, finally. Plus, he's my favorite kind of press box seat buddy. Once in a while, I get to sit next to him. Mitch Helgerson. Mitch, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. How have things been going? I mean, it's a crazy year. We always start with that question, but what has this year been like for you and your position with the Wild?
Yeah, no, it's a crazy year, that's for sure. That's maybe the understatement of the year. Yeah, our industry right now, it's crazy is probably the best word to say. I mean, everybody's going through it, right? No matter what industry you're in. But for us, we're probably one of the first industries to go out, and we're definitely anticipating being one of the last to come back. And there's so many other sports going right now. I think we all look to each other right now to figure out what the future could look like. And right now, it's difficult to plan when there's so much uncertainty. We don't know whether we're going to be playing games, when we're going to be playing games, will they be in our arenas, whether it won't be in our arenas, or we're going to have fans, are we not going to have fans? The bubbles certainly worked. I definitely applaud the league and other leagues. They've made this thing work. The guys, I think, have been really appreciative of how the guys being the players, hockey ops, very appreciative of what they put together. But who knows what the future has in store for us.
We'll talk about the fan experience a little bit and how it's evolved over the course of your time with the team and how you think it might continue to evolve as we figure out, are fans going to be able to come back? When are they going to come back? And how do we cater to them when they do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alexis. I mean, for us, if I rewind to my beginning of my tenure at the Wild, that was like 2006. I actually started in finance, and then through the course of time, did this crazy transition into marketing and sales. But fan engagement and the way we work with fans has totally changed in that time. Even in my tenure on the marketing side, back in the day, it was really game presentation and coming into the arena and coming to the rink, and that was the fan experience. It goes beyond the walls of the arena so much now in the digital space of trying to create content and trying to create some sort of relatability and intimacy with the fans and what they want with our team and our players and our executives. And we spend a ton of time there now. So we're lucky to have a guy like Ryan Carter that can bridge that gap for people. Carts could do anything he wanted to do, and we're lucky to have him on our team that could bring the personalities of our players and our staff out and give the fans a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what their lives are like, and especially how their lives have changed through this. So the fan experience when we get back to the arena, who knows? I mean, it's safety and is number one for sure, and we'll have to figure what that looks like. We also partner and manage the River Center for the city of St. Paul and Visit St. Paul, and they just opened up with their first event last weekend, and it went off without a hitch. So we're learning from them too, and we're going to be learning from other venues in the market too. It's one silver lining out of all this is been the collaboration of all the local teams when it comes to venues and it comes to trying to navigate this path that we're all on together right now. That's been definitely a benefit coming out of all this.
Well, right. And having no fans it affects everything, right? It affects the game presentation. It affects the game itself. I mean, players, it's a different vibe for them. And again, it affects kind of the passion that fans have for this team. It's totally different, especially hockey, watching a game at home versus being there, right? You're not getting that. And it's even harder. Do you think it's harder to then engage fans, obviously, too, when you don't have that kind of face-to-face interaction as often with the no fan situation that's currently going on?
Yeah, we just have to be innovative, I think. And that's the word that my team's using, innovative, a little bit resourceful too. Everyone's trying to be resourceful now at the same time. And sometimes they're at heads, but we're trying to do our best. Who knows? I mean, right now we're going to have to reach our fans in different ways. And we collaborate with my different peers in the organization to figure out how do we work with season ticket members. What does the value prop of being a season ticket member look like going forward than what it's looked like in the past? How do we continue to engage casual fans? And it's been weird. I mean, we had an all too brief stints in the bubble. Everybody was disappointed about that. But what did that look like? And how can we bring fans into the bubble? I'm really proud of the team and really appreciative of the access that Bill and Dean have provided the marketing team to give fans a look of what that looked like, and to try to show the fans who the players and what their personalities are all about. And that's where I think it's going to go going forward. The appetite of fans appetite for what goes on behind the scenes, I think is crazy. Everybody wants that as a sports fan, and the ability to be able to provide some of that and to have the right skill sets on the team that can tell these stories. I'm so appreciative. We have a fantastic production team, and they do a great job of telling these stories and utilizing guys like Karts to help pull these stories and the personalities out of the players and the coaches and the staff. And there'll be more and more of that coming, I think. And whether there's fans of the building, not fans of the building, that's going to be a big test too. We don't know what that's going to look like. You guys have probably watched a lot of bubble hockey like I have. It's different. It's totally different. And for the guys, I can't imagine how different it is and how sustainable. I mean, if we're going to have to do what we have to do, and everybody's going to have to adjust accordingly. And we're talking through ideas and different scenarios. There's so many different potential scenarios, whether there's 25% of capacity in the building, whether there's nobody in the building, whether you're even playing in arenas. It's trying to plan for all those different scenarios right now is probably the most difficult. And a lot of it feels sometimes like wasted energy, but you have to go through it.
You mentioned kind of giving that peek behind the curtain and showing personalities of players more. And I think you guys have done a tremendous job, but it seems that the NHL in general was a little bit behind other sports and maybe their willingness to let these guys show who they are and show that personality, because there's still kind of that old school mentality, right? Especially in hockey, where it's like, well, this is the way it's done, and kind of that. Do you see that changing and growing and fans being able to see more of what these guys are all about off the ice as well?
Yeah, I think we do it the right way. I think the NHL put together that TV spot last year where they cobbled together pieces of everybody saying we. There is no I in hockey, right? Jesse, you know this. You've been doing this for a long time. That every question you ask, the response, if it's, sometimes it's a cliche, but a lot of time it is. It's all about we. And so just hockey, that's what makes hockey great too. That's why it's my favorite sport. Is our old coach Rick Wilson, our old defensive coach, would tell me, Mitch, what makes hockey great is it's the only sport that he knows of that a player has to voluntarily leave the playing surface for the betterment of the team and not for themselves. You have to get off on a line change for the betterment of the team, and that goes through everything that hockey does. And unfortunately, and for us, sometimes unfortunately, that goes into how much a player wants to promote themselves and how much they want to be front and center versus the team. And so we have to tell the stories the right way to draw these personalities out. It has to be where it still is through the lens of the team and not so much about one individual. And that can be a challenge. But we're finding our way there too. We're getting better at it. I think the guys get better at it. And, it's the other piece is the hockey playing surface and the gear that they wear. It's not the same as the NBA where you can reach out and touch these guys almost, and they don't have the gear on. We do have some work to do for sure, but I think we're giving Bill and the team on the hockey side have been giving us the access to be able to do that. And it's up to us then to try to figure out the best ways to do it. So we're really encouraged by that. We're really excited about it. Hopefully the fans, if they did engage and watch some of Beyond Our Ice from the bubble, that's hopefully there's more to come in that vein.
The Born to Be Wild music video, more of those. That was fantastic.
That was great. No, they did a good job. Thanks to those guys. They were good sports, and I think that's fun too.
Well, you talked about the appetite of the fans and kind of giving them, what they want and what they look for from these athletes and these teams. How does your job become different and maybe easier in a place like Minnesota where hockey is such a big part of the culture and you have fans so willing to grab onto anything you give them in regards to hockey? Does that change the scope of your job a little bit in a place like this?
Yeah, maybe. I think we're grateful for living in the state of hockey and working in the state of hockey. I can't imagine how difficult it is for some of my colleagues across the league that don't have the built-in audience like we do. Mm-hmm. And for us, frankly, there's so many stories we can tell. It's how many of them are wild stories versus how many of them are state of hockey related stories, like the docu-series we put together last spring called Homegrown about the history of women's hockey in the state of Minnesota. Our internal team put that one together, and that's a fun story to tell. I think everybody learned something from that. I know I did. And so trying to pick and choose the right stories, that's a luxury. That's a total luxury for us because we have so many things to be able to cover. We're lucky. We're definitely lucky to be in the state of hockey, and trying to pick and choose what our fans want to learn about and hear about most is fun.
Mm-hmm. You got to talk about it. Success and failures. Obviously, that changes your job dynamic dramatically too. How do you guys kind of handle a season like they've had where, the Wild do miss the playoffs after having made it consecutive years in a row? How is that different than when you're trying to re-engage the fans and keep them still excited about this team and about potential changes or what may come? I mean, it's got to be a challenge in itself there too.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that works in this industry, it's difficult. The hardest part of the industry is the quality of the widget you're trying to market and sell changes week by week, game by game, right? Year by year, season by season. And that's a huge challenge. And to try to normalize your engagement and your outcomes based on how the team's performing, that can be tough. This year, I think we had a bit of a roller coaster, right? There is some definitely ebbs and flows to the season. Now with new hockey leadership with Bill and with Dean, it's that's working and collaborating with some new partners there too. And how we tell these stories and how we try to tell the story of the team coming together and the evolution of the team now is a fun challenge. And who knows what happens in this off season with this, again, crazy off season. Who knows when the draft's going to happen and what happens in free agency, what happens with player roster movement. We roll with the punches as best we can. But I always go back to the brand and the state of hockey and the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota Wild isn't about who's on the roster right now. Minnesota Wild and the state of hockey is about the fans and is about our hockey culture and our community-based hockey culture here. And it goes back to what's the thing that brings, I think, that is the best example of state of hockey. It's twofold. One would be the girls and boys state hockey tournaments at Excel. I mean, that's the essence of the state of hockey. No matter, that's the best example. The second, I think, would be Hockey Day, showcasing hockey at every level, girls and boys, men's and women's, is awesome too. And that's what the brand's built about. And so if we can, the team's going to be good some years, and the team's going to have some tougher years. That's just the nature of sports. But to try to build upon the bedrock of community-based hockey in Minnesota is what the brand's all about. And that'll always be our North Star, our guiding light of how we try to perform marketing and sales in Minnesota.
So let's talk about something that might be a bit of a sore spot with Minnesotans right now because of all the uncertainties. The Winter Classic. Talk about what went into securing that. I know there's a lot of questions left, but let's forget about that. Let's think about the exciting day when Minnesotans
I'll ask
found
it
out.
later. Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah,
We'll start easy here.
Right.
We'll start easy. Just talk about what went into securing that. It seemed like a long time coming for a place like Minnesota, and specifically choosing Target Field as the venue.
Yeah, no, great question. We were super happy, really proud to work with the Twins to secure that event. And it was a lot of work, and it was a long time coming. Craig was very vocal from year one of the Winter Classic being approved and put out there that Minnesota would be a great destination and great place for the Winter Classic. And we'll see what happens this next year when we play that game. And it would be great to play that game with a full house. And that's definitely our goal. I know that's the league's goal too. But yeah, in order to grab that event and be awarded that event, a ton of work went into it. We worked closely with both Meet Minneapolis, Sports Minneapolis over in the Minneapolis side, along with Visit St. Paul, to showcase what the Winter Classic could look like in the state of hockey and what venue. Target Field was a natural fit for that. The only struggle with Target Field is it's a pretty intimate venue, right? And the number of seats provides some limitations. We'd had an outdoor game already over at the U, and that was an awesome event. I look back fondly on that game and the results of that game, and it was almost picturesque at moments. But we thought that it would be fun to try a different venue this time. And baseball parks always prove to have their own challenges. But the backdrop to Minneapolis and being outdoors and playing outdoors again and collaborating with the Twins, who we have a fantastic relationship with, I think this is really looking forward to that day when that day comes.
Were there any other years that Minnesota was close to securing it? Because I'm sure those conversations are so ongoing, right? And it's like, yep, you're kind of maybe a finalist. I don't, if there are any internal. Were there other years that Minnesota was almost there and got nudged out of that?
Yeah. We think we were. We hope we were. It's pretty ambiguous, though. We don't really know exactly what goes into the decision-making process. Steve Mayer and his team that do award, along with the commissioner and the deputy commissioner, we have great relationships with them. Steve's group is the one that's putting on the bubble games right now in Toronto and Edmonton. So I don't know exactly where we were. I know we wanted it badly, and they knew we wanted it badly. They knew we had great partnerships locally to make this happen, and we had proven ourselves too over at TCF Bank that we could do this, and it would be that fans wanted it and would support it. So I think it was just a matter of time, and it's great that our time has come.
And in addition, the Super Bowl being here, I'm sure had to have been a huge lift too, that the city of Minneapolis can support something that large and pull it off so wonderfully, and people will be engaged. And I have to imagine that was a big uplifting spot for us too.
Yeah, I think so. The market's definitely proven itself, and it's great at hosting big time sporting events. I mean, you could go down a list of Final Four and X Games and Super Bowl, and we've proven we can do this between the collaboration of the two cities along with Bloomington, and it takes a village, right? So I think I know they did come and visit the market during the Final Four to see how that worked, and I think that was impressive. I think that was persuasive in their decision-making process for sure.
So can you tell us, is it happening January 1 as previously
I wish
discussed?
I could. Yeah, I know as much as you guys right now, honestly. I think the league's trying to get through the bubbles, right? Let's award the cup.
Yeah.
Let somebody lift the cup. I wish it was us, but we'll award the cup. And then we're going to have to pivot quickly and see what happens next. I mentioned the draft earlier. I mentioned free agency and training camps, and to see how fast we can put this together as a league. It's been remarkable, I think, the success of the two bubbles right now. And once we get through the second round, pulling that down to one bubble and how this is going to work. And then we'll see. Who knows what happens January 1st. It doesn't seem like it's that far away anymore, right? I mean, we're almost at the end of August here. And
yeah.
We'll see. As soon as I know, I bet you guys will know too.
I would imagine. I agree with you, though. I think it's such an event that you want the fans to be a part of. Mm-hmm. So you certainly, I mean, if you're going to put all of this time and all this effort and money and energy into the production, you want to be able to share that with the state of hockey and Minnesota. And so, I mean,
and on such a national scale, like, you want to show, like, hey, all these people are coming out. Look at this event we put together and how successful it was. I mean, you want everyone to get the most out of it. And for fans, it's been so long coming that I mean, I can't imagine what people would feel like if it's like, hey, we're going to have the game, but you can't be there. You have to watch it on TV, or I mean, that would just be devastating to a lot of people probably.
Yeah. I just can't imagine that happening that way. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you guys just said. Absolutely.
Well, we're excited for whenever that may come. You know, I think it'll be a really great thing. Anything else that fans can maybe look forward to that you can give us a peek behind your curtain that you guys have on tap? Like you said, I know it's challenging times. Lots of things are always kind of, you have to be fluid and go with the flow as things come. But anything else that fans should kind of keep an eye out for on the horizon as we look toward next season?
Yeah, great question. I wish we had a little bit more certainty of what we're going to be able to do. And so, like I said earlier, we have different scenarios we're chasing right now. I would go back to what we talked about earlier. It's a lot of it's going to be content. And if it's content during the game and how broadcasts are going to look, that could be very different this year, both on radio and on television, working with our partners at Fox and the KFAN. Who knows what that's going to look like? I think there'll be some innovations there, probably something that'll definitely be different than it has been in the past. We got a little bit of a look at it during the bubble hockey of what it was like to broadcast remotely. And that was different for sure. See how that's going to look in the upcoming season. And then just what else can we do to keep fans close to the action and keep fans close to what the team's going to look like. And it'll be different. I'm sure it'll be different. I mean, one difference we know is having Kirill Kaprizov on the team and trying to tell some of those stories. This is what we're going to definitely be focusing on. If we can't be close in person with our fans at the arena, how do we still try to keep that relationship strong? And that's what we're focused on the most. And that's where we're putting a lot of our energies and focus this next year if we can't be there in person. Not saying we don't know that yet. We're hoping. We're still hopeful that, we'll see what happens. December's what? 3 months away, over 3 months away. It's almost like another off season already. So who knows? A lot can change.
Mitch, I got an idea for you. Let's
hear it.
You've got all those parking lots around at the XL. I say you should do like a drive-in movie style viewing of the games. And then you
I like
pipe
it.
in the
I'm
audio
in.
from the parking lot into the arena.
I love it.
Just saying. And then you can have like a fire truck go by and have like random sirens going on inside
for the goal, that would be the goal siren then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Since you
But I know
mentioned
the players would appreciate it. That's for sure. I think
Yeah.
they miss it right now. It's hard. It's like I think you guys mentioned earlier. It's a totally different atmosphere for these guys, and they've been up there a long time now for the guys that are still in the bubble. And we'll see what happens. But there hasn't been a series. Well, there's one 5-gamer in the qualifying round yet. We didn't have a 7-gamer in the first round. We'll see if we have a 7-gamer in the second round. It's I don't know how hard it is to come back if you're down a couple of games when you're in the bubble and you don't have the fans there. So we'll see. It's a different atmosphere, that's for sure.
It's been fun. And I agree with you. I think the NHL's done a really great job at pulling it off, not only just like logistically, right? There's no positive test. The bubble's working and everyone's doing their thing. And that's on the players as well, who are taking this responsibility very seriously too. So I think a credit to them, but I think it's been fun to watch. I think I was even a little questionable, like, how do I cover this game remotely? How do I watch a game with no fans? Am I going to notice that? Is it going to be weird? And I really haven't noticed I would prefer to be at the rink and covering the game. It's much easier than doing a Zoom call, scrambling at 11:30 at night or midnight, whatever that may be. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been really impressive how they've overcome a lot of the challenges that were put in their way because of this. And I think that's a testament then to you guys too, because I can see that trickling down to the way the teams will handle things whenever they return, however the return looks for you guys.
Yeah. And let's face it, I think you said it earlier, Jesse. Hockey, live hockey, in-person hockey, there's no substitute for it. Some sports you could argue are maybe even better at home on your couch watching on TV. Hockey's not one of them. It just isn't. And that's the hardest thing for us. Everybody would acknowledge. I don't think anybody would dispute that. And so we want to have people back in the building as soon as we can, but we want to do it in a safe way. That's priority number one. But we hope to have that environment and to have that environment change up a little bit, not just a safety perspective, but from a game operations perspective, and trying to do our best to inject energy, whether the fans are there or not. If fans are there, it's our job to make sure that they're energized, and goals always help, but what else can we do from a marketing standpoint? And if fans aren't there, our work will definitely be cut out for us, and trying to inject some of that energy through the screen is a lot more difficult, but we'll do our best. And again, try to use that innovative word, see what we can do. Trial and error too, and see what happens. See how that works.
Throw something against the wall, right? And see what sticks and
right.
kind of go from there. I think you guys are doing a great job. I'm excited to see what else might happen. I'm hoping to see you in person again once we can return here safely, of course. But thank you so much, Mitch, for joining us and jumping in and for all the work that you do for the state of hockey.
Great. Thanks for the invite, guys. Yeah, I hope to see all 3 of your smiling faces at the arena very soon.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is producer Fred. First off, thank you very much to everybody that went out and rated Bardown Beauties on all of your podcast platforms. We really, really appreciate it. Now, let's tell everybody you know. Let's tell your friends. Let's tell your mom. Let's tell your grandma. Let's tell your hockey coach. Let's grow Bardown Beauties podcast.
And we're back. Thanks again to Mitch for joining us. He's awesome. One of my favorite dudes. Excited to see what the season looks like coming up this year for everybody, when fans can come back and kind of how some different things might be unveiled as a result. So always exciting. I mean, it's always, I think, for a guy like him in his position or any marketing position, this truly is such a challenge because you don't know what it looks like. You don't know what to do. And you're kind of throwing things at the wall to see what might stick. And you have to be able to turn on a dime, be flexible. I mean, personally, it's always been I'm a creative type, right? And I really like being challenged. And this has been so challenging, but it's been so fun to think about, like, how can we make this different, right? And we've done that with the podcast. We've done that with different things. Like, what else can we try to keep things still kind of light or fun or going and successful too? So it's been fun. I'm excited to see what him and his team come up with again. So thanks to Mitch. Now, without further ado, our favorite segment, Miss Alexis dives back into her childhood hockey diary to recap a game and the emotions felt in that moment. Here's Dear Diary with Alexis.
Wild versus Penguins, January 11th, 2010. We have officially beat the defending Stanley Cup champs twice. Would you like me to repeat that? Twice. Go ahead. Rub your eyes and reread. I'm not going anywhere.
And that's Dear Diary with Alexis. That
That
really
was
happened?
what I think that was year
Wow.
1 with Sidney Crosby, because did he come, or they would have, so that would have been 2000, January, so 2008. Yeah, I think that was the first season they had Sidney Crosby, because wasn't he in
God, was that
2007?
long ago? Something like that, probably.
It was either like 2007 or like 2009, something like that.
It's
So
like a
yeah,
decade
that's
ago. How old? Yeah. Jesus, and you were young. I was like in college.
yeah. Let's
Wow.
just it's young and dumb and innocent still.
Well, perfect. Well, thanks again to everybody for tuning in this week. We appreciate you. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate, share, all of that good stuff to help us continue to grow this podcast. Be sure to check out our Teespring store. Check out our Teespring store.
Almost made it through that.
Almost made it. As well as sodastick.com. Some great merchandise there. Tossed on that Bardown Beauties code at checkout for free shipping with them. That's it. We'll be back next week. You guys are going to love our guests next week. I promise you,
Yes,
you
you
do not
will.
want to miss it. So be sure that you're subscribed to all of our channels to get the notifications, because I'm very excited
I'm
about
already
it.
getting giddy. I need
I'm a little
so
nervous.
excited.
It's I promise you guys it's a good one. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. Bye-bye.